Good evening, everybody. Great to have you with us. And puppet President Biden and his Marxist Dem masters are intent on destroying this country as soon as they possibly can. They're using every possible means to tear America apart. They are in partnership with the Mexican drug cartels. Those cartels are making tens of billions of dollars a year, bringing into the United States millions of illegal aliens, sex trafficking, deadly drugs. By the way, those illegal aliens, an estimated 14 million of them have been brought into the country since Biden moved into the White House. And with them, a vicious horde of illegal alien criminals who rape, steal, and murder. No part of this country is untouched by the Biden regime's venal anti-American policies, their efforts to destroy America. And make no mistake, there is no American who is safe now. Certainly that the federal government is fully weaponized against the American people just creates another dimension to what is outright danger for everyday citizens. The national media won't even report on the victims of these illegal alien criminals. As far as they're concerned, they don't exist. In Ohio, an illegal alien from Mexico now faces murder charges. He's been deported at least 8 times and has a rap sheet 2 decades long. Butler County Sheriff Richard Jones didn't mince words about who is to blame for letting this criminal filth into our country. Here he is.
He'd been in our jail 11 times. He had seven different names. He had 3 different birth dates. He'd been to prison 3 times. He's been deported 8 times. And what I said was, and he had over 20 charges in 20 years. And when you look at the pictures up here on the board, these are his mug shots. These are just the ones that we know of. So what I'm telling you today, when I had the press conference, I said our border is broken. And these 2 individuals are the cause of it. The third one is the president of Mexico, which he actually doesn't run Mexico. It's the drug cartel.
And if only establishment rhino Republicans had Sheriff Jones' clarity and directness. Meanwhile, in Massachusetts, a Colombian is charged with raping a minor. The failure to protect the public in this case is shocking. Border Patrol releasing this illegal alien into the United States in 2022. He was arrested for that rape charge this January, but police purposely let him go free before immigration agents could detain him. When we say that Biden's open border policy is satanic, I mean exactly what I say. A Mexican illegal in Illinois who crossed the border 2 weeks ago is now accused of murdering his wife. He tried to behead her in front of their 2 children. And these illegal alien criminals are of the worst sort, and they're mentally ill, many of them. And Joe Biden, he is nothing less than satanic in bringing them to the United States with every intention to destroy our society. This nation, our nation, is being brutalized. Our citizens beaten, raped, maimed, and murdered. And the illegal aliens keep coming and coming by the millions because of the puppet president, Joe Biden, and his Marxist Dem masters. Endlessly, they pour over a border that Joe Biden has turned over to the Mexican drug cartels. Once peaceful communities all across this country are now war zones. And only the Marxist Dems are safe from that chaos, and they are only safe for a little more time. Even they are beginning to comprehend that their throats will be in danger as well. Even Denver's ignorant Marxist Democrats, who call that a sanctuary city, are now begging illegal aliens to leave their sanctuary city. Watch city official Andres Carrera plead with illegal aliens to leave Denver, to go to other cities where they can have, as he put it, more. The pathetic city official begging them to leave that fair city of Denver, but they want to stay put. Watch this.
Carrera is Denver's so-called newcomer communications liaison. That means that he meets the busloads of new arrivals. The city says this group got here on March 26, sent up by Texas's Republican Governor Greg Abbott. He warns them the jobs, the resources, the opportunities have already gone to the 40,000 migrants who came to Denver before that.
Denver's Marxist Dems are as ignorant as Marxist Dems everywhere. They're just as vicious. But even they are now beginning to understand their evil policies and their bad choices for their community mean they too may soon be the victims of the filth they brought into the country. All of America is now threatened by the psychotic pro-invasion policies of the Marxist Dem Party. And I, for one, would insist these criminal, vicious, illegal aliens take up residency in every single sanctuary city in the country and go nowhere else, of course. President Trump understands the threat they pose. Remember, he was building a wall that the Marxist Dems blocked. And you know why now. They brought in an estimated 15 million illegal aliens after the 2020 election. Not only have the Marxist Dems and this puppet president brought in the criminal charge for this hemisphere, President Trump warned that Communist China might also be building an army in the United States. Chinese nationals illegally entering the United States now by the tens of thousands. Here's President Trump.
There's, that white stuff that they happen to find, which happened to be cocaine in the White House. I don't know. I think something's going on there, because I watched his State of the Union and he was all jacked up at the beginning. By the end, he was fading fast. There's something going on there. I want to debate, and I think debates with him, at least, should be drug tested. I want to
Mr. President, are you suggesting President Biden's using cocaine?
I don't know what he's using, but that was not, hey, he was higher than a kite. And by the way, it was the worst address I've ever seen. State of the Nation. I'll tell you, State of the Union, that's not State of the Union, because he doesn't represent us properly. That I can tell you. But he's obviously being helped some way, because most of the time he looks like he's falling asleep, and all of a sudden he walked up there and did a poor job. But he was all jacked up.
Did you hear the moron ask, Mr. President, are you suggesting that the president is using cocaine? As if that would be the worst of the crimes that he is committing against the Republic, against the citizens of the United States, doing cocaine, unthinkable. How about bringing in millions of criminals into this country, raping and murdering and maiming American citizens, 100,000 Americans dead? How about, Mr. President, what do you think of a president who would permit that to happen? Now, the Marxist media is such a joke and a pathetic, pitiful, naive, and absolutely ignorant group of people. Well, my first guest tonight just came back from that border where Florida law enforcement assets have been sent to help fight the invasion of these illegal aliens, all incentivized, of course, by this the satanic president, Joe Biden, and the Marxist Dems and his regime. The state of Florida deployed over 100 of its National Guard and Highway Patrol troops to Texas last month. And if Biden and Congress won't act, red states will have to continue standing up for law, for order, and that border and our national sovereignty. And we're very fortunate that Florida is among those states doing so. Joining us now is the Chief Financial Officer of the state of Florida, Jimmy Patronis. Patronis also making headlines recently when he proposed using state funds to help cover President Trump's legal fees. Patronis seems to be one of the few Republicans who understands the crisis in this moment, brought to you by the lunatic Marxist Dem Party. Jimmy Patronis, thanks for being with us here. I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Let me turn to, was there anything that you saw that was a surprise at the border?
So your opening description of what's taking place is 1,000% spot on. To be honest with you, Lou, I had no idea how bad it was until I saw it with my own two eyes. We've got support there from Nebraska, from Ohio. Texas, of course, has got their hands full. Texas, in the last year alone, appropriated $9 billion just to support the efforts of trying to control the border that Biden is totally just leaving unchecked. And so we spent a lot of time at Eagle Pass meeting with our men and women. And I tell you, Texas was grateful, but the men and women of Florida, they are so proud to be assisting because they see with their own two eyes the epidemic and the crimes taking place by the cartels.
And that's costing a lot of money for the state of Florida. All the states that are participating in supporting Texas, by the way, the only border state that is doing anything about protecting their border and trying to block the invasion of illegal aliens into this country, incentivized, of course, all of them by this Marxist dim puppet of a president, Joe Biden, and his vicious regime. What do you think it's going to take? Is there anything that more that can be done by Texas? They're doing so much. The state of Florida, I know, is all of these states. Are we going to be faced with an even greater surge, do you think, going up to Election Day? Or do you think that the reports that Manuel Lopez Obrador will try to hold back a few of the illegal aliens because it looks so bad going into the election?
Well, and that's exactly what I'd hope to say. But what's happened is Eagle Pass, where we're at, there is such a forced presence there. But it didn't happen overnight. The barbed wire, the containers, the troops that are there on the ground. So you went from a point of entry that had thousands of illegals crossing the border every single day down to literally less than 100. But the cartels know that, you know what, Eagle Pass is now off limits. We can't make anything work there. We saw a handful of immigrants trying to cross while we were there. But so what's happened is they're being dispersed to other areas. Now what you've seen is a surge hit into New Mexico, Arizona, and California, all of which have Democratic governors. So in the case of New Mexico, as Texas was educating us, is New Mexico was kind of hands off. And now New Mexico is saying, hey, Texas, share with us, collaborate with us, because, you know, they don't want to deal with the epidemic either. A trooper that I was talking to in Texas, his daughter is a school teacher in Texas. 3 years ago, she had 26 kids in her classroom. Now she's got 46. So there's the humanitarian crisis, in addition to the thousands of pounds of drugs, illegal cash, guns, and the worst part is the human trafficking, the criminals. And to your point, the cartel controls Mexico.
It controls Mexico, and I think that people, you mentioned Eagle Pass. I mean, Eagle Pass, the first thing their city government did when Governor Greg Abbott said, we're going to stop this as best we can. We're going to bring state troopers. We're going to bring the National Guard forward, and we're going to do what we can to protect Texas. You know, the first thing that happened from the Eagle Pass city government was they started protesting. They didn't want to have that happen. And let me tell you, without any equivocation or hesitation whatsoever, Eagle Pass has been under the influence of the Mexican drug cartel for years now.
100%.
And they can play and pretend as much as they want, but there's this straight up truth, and I don't see a single national news media reporter, anchor, you name it, reporting a single word of what I just said.
Well, and that's exactly what was so eye-opening to me, because the mainstream media doesn't report it and go into the detail as you have. And until I saw it with my own two eyes, I did not realize how bad it was. I'm so proud of what Florida's doing to aid and to ensure that we're trying to manage the crisis that the Biden administration will do absolutely nothing to curtail. But then there you have the migrant flights where they're flying, where Governor DeSantis just this week, you know, brought to light 300,000 illegals that are being flown into South Florida. And I'm a believer. They're going to dump these illegals. They're going to sway the census. They're going to put them in blue parts of our state in order to add blue members of Congress, in order to try to change the outcome and makeup of Congress. So, I mean, you know, the one thing I'll give about the Democrats, they will stoop to lows that I never believed anybody in political influence would ever consider.
Well, Florida has a great story because you've got a great state government, and you are responding as always to the interest of the state of Florida and your great citizens. Jimmy, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. I hope you'll come by soon, and we can continue the conversation. Jimmy Patronis, thanks very much for being with us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And some big news on the economy today. The job market is booming. The U.S. economy added more than 300,000 jobs last month, and the unemployment rate fell back to 3.8%. This marks the 39th consecutive month of job growth in this country. The 39th. The Biden Labor Department, however, is not revealing just how many of those jobs went to illegal aliens or how many American workers are finding jobs. By the way, crude oil continues to rise, as do gas prices, and so does inflation. But overall, positive news on the job market, and we'll keep you posted here on this show about the state of the economy every evening. All of you out there know that Mike Lindell, who is one of my heroes, and MyPillow are no longer being supported by those big box stores or the shopping channels the way they used to. They've been part of this cancel culture. So they want to pass those savings directly on to you, the folks at MyPillow, and they're having a $25 extravaganza. And you know, when Mike Lindell says extravaganza, he means it. When Mike started MyPillow, it was just one solution, one product company. Since then, with the help of his dedicated employees, they now have literally hundreds of products. And some of you may not even know about those products. And to get the word out, Mike Lindell is having a $25 extravaganza. Two-pack multi-use MyPillows are just now $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And did you know about the sandals? I didn't. There are six-pack towels, $25. Brand new four-pack dish towels, again, $25. And for the first time ever, the premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size, just $25. You talk about an extravaganza, this is it. And this amazing offer doesn't last forever. So order now. Just go to mypillow.com or call 800-977-9152 and use promo code Dobbs. That's DOBBS. I love saying promo code Dobbs. Thank you. And you will love every product, and you will certainly enjoy those prices. Coming up next, Marxist Dem Anthony Blinken stoops to a new low. This is a cretin posing as the Secretary of State, working against the interest of the United States. He says now Israel is becoming Hamas. You heard me right. He says Israel is becoming Hamas. Well, as we head into this critical election, the medical establishment and Marxist media are sounding the alarm on another potential pandemic. And oh, are they talking it up? It's the bird flu. And are they fear-mongering as never before? You don't want to miss this story. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The MyPillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, MyPillow 2.0. When I invented MyPillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. MyPillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. MyPillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of MyPillow.
Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your MyPillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
MyPillow.com.
Welcome back. President Biden is doing whatever he can to subvert the next Trump presidency. Biden issued a new rule that would make it much more difficult to fire federal employees, affecting thousands of bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. In that statement, Biden ignorantly said the move was a, quote, step toward combating corruption and partisan interference to ensure civil servants could focus on delivering for the American people. Another Biden lie and another outrageous statement from the satanic Marxist Dem president. What Biden really means to say is that this is a move to blunt the will of the American people, and it is intended to deliver for the deep state and the permanent bureaucracy, most of whom are obviously Marxist Dems. There are just over 300,000 federal government employees who work in D.C. itself, many of those workers represented by the American Federation of Government Employees. The organization has over, are you ready for this? 900 unions spread all across the country. When we talk about big government, we're talking big government. And these employees are known as career employees because they just stay there and stay there year after year after year. They keep their jobs, no matter the presidential administration, no matter the economic condition or the purpose that they try to serve, at least at some point. They had to try, but may no longer be relevant. It's not exactly right to say they serve Republican and Democrat administrations either. The truth is they serve the swamp, and they do so zealously. One of President Trump's last acts in 2020 was his executive order reclassifying thousands of those employees to what is known as Schedule F employees. Now, I know this is a lot of information, but it's information I truly believe you need and you want to have, because this is a vast enterprise in nothing more than sheer largesse, thanks to the American taxpayer. They're known as Schedule F employees. That makes them fireable at will. He rightfully wanted MAGA loyalists in his government. We understand that, just as, well, Biden wants Marxist Dems in his. Biden's move is an attempt to protect the swamp creatures and to blunt whatever reforms might be on the way. Turning now to the Marxist Dems' persecution of President Trump, the corrupt Attorney General of New York, Letitia James. She's now trying to block President Trump's bond. So let's see. Let's review the bidding. First, she charges Trump with false crimes, fake crimes, another hoax. Then she imposes an unprecedented bond amount of $500 million. And then threatens to steal his properties if he doesn't pay by Monday, 2 weeks ago, I believe it is. He didn't. And by the way, she couldn't do a thing about it. And when Trump finally beats the odds to secure the bond, James tries to block that. Letitia James, I want to be very clear about this. She is a psychopath, Marxist Dem thug, abusing her immense power as Attorney General. And by the way, persecuting former President Donald Trump. Not surprisingly, the Marxist Dems sending out propagandists in the left-wing media to slander the man who helped Trump post that bond, billionaire Don Hankey. Hankey is a billionaire. He made his money on auto loans and on MSNBC. Oh my gosh, that place is melting down. The fact makes, well, they just decided to make Hankey look like a crook or something, someone who should feel guilty about his wealth. Now, apparently, Joe and Mika and the bunch, I don't mind making a few $1 million a year, but, you know, I mean, you get up to the number that he's at, they want to be redistributing that wealth. Not their own, of course, just his. And they attack anyone connected, of course, to Donald Trump. MSNBC made its name promoting Russiagate conspiracies, lying about the collusion with Russia, floating a new one, by the way, that President Trump promised Hankey favorable policies for his business. Listen to these fools.
These kinds of loans are for people with low credit scores who desperately need a car for their lives to get to work. But they don't have quite enough cash up front. So what they do is they end up paying usurious interest rates, like you just heard, and very high fees. And perhaps not surprisingly, that turns out to be an incredibly profitable business. It catapulted Don Hankey to number 128 on Forbes' most recent list of the richest people in America, a position he certainly seems to enjoy. What do you think would happen if Donald Trump gets back in the Oval Office, where he would make appointments to the federal agencies that regulate subprime auto loans, or if legislation comes up that would seek to rein them in or regulate them? Don Hankey just put up $175 million for Donald Trump. He saved Trump from the humiliation of admitting he did not have the cash of having his property seized. What do you think would happen when Hankey needs a favor or a favorable policy from a Trump administration?
You're talking about silly and you're talking about stupid when you talk about MSNBC. And that fella embodies both admirably. Well, now for an update out of Israel. Joe Biden betrayed and turned on our ally yesterday. He's been doing that for weeks now. Biden held a call, if you can believe this, with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after weeks of reporting on their, to say the least, soured relations. This is a president trying to tell the leader of the Israeli government what to do. This is a sick, pathetic, puppet, impaired, cognitively president trying to tell Bibi Netanyahu what to do, folks. Think about that for a moment, not just the protocol of it all. After that call, the White House chose to release a public statement saying that Biden, quote, made clear the need for Israel to announce and implement a series of specific, concrete, and measurable steps to address civilian harm. What condescension from a White House that barely has anyone beyond lowlife in it. Interesting. Has Biden really made those demands of Hamas? Maybe Iran? Who's hiding behind innocent civilians? The White House went on to say that Biden, making him sound like some sort of big, tough guy in the White House, quote, underscored that an immediate ceasefire is essential. Now, do you think he's a big, tough guy, Joe Biden? It's obvious, releasing details of the call. By the way, they didn't do that with Xi Jinping, did they? It was an idea to put further pressure on Israel and to shame them in the international community. It's about all this disgusting excuse for a president has left to him, pretending that what he's saying is rational, that it is sensible and in the national interest. That is the U.S. national interest, and it is not. And to make matters worse, the White House trotted out John Kirby, good old Admiral Kirby, to reiterate calls for an Israeli ceasefire, and I mean now, said the tough guy, Joe Biden.
He underscored that an immediate ceasefire is essential to stabilize and improve the humanitarian situation and to protect innocent civilians. And he urged the Prime Minister to empower his negotiators to conclude a deal without delay to bring the hostages home.
What the world wants to understand is the White House warning that it may remove military aid? What exactly is the threat here?
I think I've stated it pretty clearly, and I'm not gonna, as I said earlier, I'm not gonna preview steps. I'm not gonna preview decisions that haven't been made yet. But there are things that need to be done. There are too many civilians being killed. The risk to aid workers is unacceptable. Now we have certain aid organizations that are reconsidering whether they're even going to be able to continue operations in Gaza while famine looms. So there has to be tangible steps. Let's see what they announce. Let's see what they direct. Let's see what they do. But I'm not going to get ahead of that.
You know, admittedly, Kirby doesn't have to perform at a very high level. That's fortunate for him. But the other part of that is to suggest that suddenly Prime Minister Netanyahu is responsible for both sides of the negotiation, that is Hamas releasing the hostages. I mean, this gets silly. We have the dumbest White House in this country's history. I mean it. Even Jimmy Carter put together a White House that had more intellect in it than does this. And certainly it is a White House that is absolutely forlorn, and I have to say, misbegotten. They have no interest in anything American, anything that has to do with this Constitution and upholding it. Joe Biden's betrayal of our allies is just exactly what he's done to the American people. It is overwhelming. It is constant. And his Secretary of State, currently at the NATO summit in Europe, with the audacity to accuse Israel of becoming Hamas. Take a listen to this.
Now, of course, what happened after October 7th could have ended immediately if Hamas had stopped hiding behind civilians, released the hostages, and put down its weapons. But Israel is not Hamas. Israel is a democracy. Hamas, a terrorist organization. And democracies place the highest value on human life, every human life. As has been said, whoever saves a life saves the entire world. That's our strength. It's what distinguishes us from terrorists like Hamas. If we lose that reverence for human life, we risk becoming indistinguishable from those we confront.
I think the man is used to talking to third grade classes. He can't speak in sentences beyond 5 or 6 words. His thoughts are penetratingly shallow. And what a liar he is. The attacks from Israel are coming from all sides. Even classic American corporations like McDonald's are caving to Hamas pressure. And the fast food chain announcing it'll buy back all 220 franchises in Israel after pro-Palestinian activists boycotted the restaurants. And that boycott spread across Indonesia, the Middle East, even France. So with Israel's enemies out front and center, it is only natural to wonder, where are Israel's friends and their defenders? Well, joining us now is one of Israel's strongest supporters. He's Alan Dershowitz, professor emeritus at Harvard Law School, and he is the author of the new book, War Against the Jews and How to End Hamas Barbarism. Alan, great to have you with us here. And welcome back to the show. And congratulations on the new book. I want first your thoughts when you heard that Tony Blinken was saying that Israel is becoming Hamas.
Well, I worry very much about the moral equivalence that many are now making between Hamas and Israel. CNN specializes in it. CNN gives Hamas advocates all the time in the world, uninterrupted. And when any Israeli spokesperson comes on, they interrupt them, they criticize them. CNN has blood on its hands because Hamas uses what they call the CNN strategy. Kill Jews, Israel will retaliate, put children, babies in front of the soldiers. That some babies will die, show them on television on CNN, and you win the public relations war. So when CNN becomes the ally of Hamas, it actually increases the incentive on Hamas not to in any way come to the bargaining table. And the Biden administration has it absolutely backwards. I just came back from Israel. Israel is anxious to have a ceasefire in exchange for the release of all the hostages. In fact, Israel agreed to a 40-day ceasefire, 40 hostages, hundreds and hundreds of terrorists released. Israel said yes. And then the United States refused to veto a one-sided Security Council resolution. As soon as that happened, Hamas pulled back from the deal and basically said, why should we have to give up any hostages? The Biden administration is doing our job for us. They are condemning Israel. They are allowing the UN Security Council to condemn Israel. Now they're threatening Israel. So the Biden administration is responsible for this war continuing and for hostages not being released. If they had just stuck to their original position, supporting Israel, I believe this war would be over. And I believe the hostages, at least the vast majority of them, would have been released. But Hamas has no incentive at this point to do anything because they think they're winning the war of public relations. They're dividing Israel from the United States. They're getting the United States to condemn Israel. So I do think that a lot of the responsibility for the civilian deaths in Gaza falls on organizations like CNN, the New York Times, and on the Biden administration as well.
You're saying the Biden administration, the Biden White House, has blood on its hands as well, correct?
I think they are responsible for the war not ending. If they had stuck to their original position and supported Israel, this war would be over, I think, and a lot of Hamas hostages would have been released. So I do place a considerable blame on this administration for backing away from support. It's doing it on the basis of what they call the two-state solution, namely Minnesota and Michigan. Those are the two states they're interested in winning in the election. They're allowing domestic concerns to influence foreign policy. You know, just hours before he died, Joe Lieberman and I were working on a statement saying to the White House and saying to the Biden administration, you can no longer count on votes for people like me, like us, who are generally supportive of Israel, who are generally Democrats. We've been Democrats, and we've been Democrats for a long time. But you have to earn our votes, and you can't mortgage us to a couple of 100,000 Arabs and Muslims in Michigan. And Joe and I were working on that statement literally when he died. I then published it in the Wall Street Journal on Friday. And I hope the Biden administration will take our message seriously. So far, they don't seem to be. And the threats to Israel are just making the war go on and on and on, and making it harder and harder to bring the hostages back.
Mm-hmm. Well, here are a couple of data points. One is that the Biden administration could have stopped the war, the invasion of Russia into Ukraine. A year ago, they could have brought about a negotiated settlement in that war. A further data point is that this puppet president, Biden, could have been insistent that Hamas stand down rather than proceed with what everyone watching, whether it be in terms of satellite technology, signal intelligence of all sorts on the ground, and know that they had to stop Hamas. There is no question about that. They could also have been very helpful instead of calling Chuck Schumer calling for an election. What in the world is happening to the Jewish community in this country? How in the world could Chuck Schumer bring about such a brazen betrayal of the state of Israel? Can you tell me?
No, you're absolutely right. I've known Chuck Schumer since he was a student at Harvard. And what he did was a terrible interference in a fellow democracy. You don't tell another democracy when to have elections, who to vote for. Israel has had 5 elections in 8 years. There's no more democratic country on the face of the earth. There's no country that has more criticism internally of its policies from its own people, its own newspapers. Schumer ought to stick his nose out of Israel's political business. And Jewish voters in New York and pro-Israel voters, many Christian pro-Israel voters, ought to make Schumer pay a price for that. It's just dead wrong for an American political leader to be telling Israel when to hold elections. In a democracy, those are decisions that should be made by the people of the country themselves. But I think the most important point, and people just don't seem to understand it, that a ceasefire now will cause more deaths than continuing the war. Absolutely. A ceasefire, unilateral ceasefire, will strengthen Hamas. They'll do it again and again and again, and it'll come to a theater near you. Putin learned that lesson. It came to a theater near him, not Hamas. But remember, terrorism was invented by Palestinian extremists and Palestinian terrorists during the Olympics of many years ago, and other terrorist organizations.
1972.
And it came to a theater right near Putin. And it's going to come to a theater right near you in New York and Washington, D.C., in Los Angeles. If Hamas is allowed to win in Israel, it's going to export terrorism all around the world.
Alan, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it as always. Alan Dershowitz, thank you. Coming up next, the Marxist Dem Biden regime fear-mongers are emerging again ahead of the critical presidential election. They're warning of a brand new illness that's worse than COVID, 10 times as bad as, let's say, disease X. Is this another campaign for power and control by the totalitarians? We'll be talking with Dr. Mark Richards here next. Please stay with us.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back. Can America First throw out the rhino establishment Republicans led by Mitch McConnell in the Senate? Well, if they want any chance of doing that at all, they'll need the help of Bernie Moreno, the Republican candidate for senator from the state of Ohio. He'll be joining us here later in tonight's show. Turning now to another story, the flood of illegal aliens into this country isn't just bringing rampant crime. Now, these illegal aliens are bringing, in many cases, diseases that they bring from the third world. Health officials in Chicago announcing that tuberculosis cases are exploding at shelters and facilities housing these illegal aliens. This follows an outbreak of measles as well. Chicago now accounting for half of all of the measles cases in the United States. Now, think about this. How many times have you heard this in the national media? Half of all measles cases in the United States are in Chicago. These diseases were nearly eradicated years ago, and now they are once again surging and in some cases becoming commonplace. This is the sanctuary city paradise the Marxist Dems promised their citizens. So where is the outcry from the public health and science communities now? How about the Centers for Disease Control? Mask up or pack up or, socially distance, all of the nonsense that they peddled. Of course, that same doesn't apply to illegal aliens. Their threat to public health must be absolutely accepted, tolerated. It is virtual signaling for your community to have, 10 times as many illegal aliens in it as you have, we'll say, students going to school. This comes as scientists are now warning that a bird flu pandemic could be not double, 3 or 4 times worse than COVID. No, 100 times worse than COVID-19. Now think about that. The fatality rate for bird flu is over 50%, compared to just 0.1% for COVID. Even during the early days of the COVID pandemic, the fatality rate never rose above 20% in specific areas. So, should we be afraid? Do we have reason to believe these fear mongers? Well, Dr. Mark Richards is here to help us through these disquieting moments. He's former White House physician consultant to President Donald Trump, author of the book, Nobody Wants You Healthy. And he joins us now to take up these issues. Doctor, great to have you back with us. Let's start, if we may, with this. We got Disease X, which is a fantasy disease. For what purpose, we're not sure, other than to frighten people. But that was supposed to be 20 times worse than the COVID-19. Now we have bird flu that is suddenly 100 times more deadly, according to the people who were peddling all these fears. 100 times more worse than COVID-19. Your thoughts?
Well, I think there's a lot of fear porn, Lou. That's what gets eyes on the page. And so people get all worked up about this. It's pretty fascinating. I was learning about H5N1, which is the bird flu, and probably 1999 at a medical conference. Mm-hmm. And we had a number of experts there, and they said, it's not if the bird flu gets transmitted among humans, it's when. But the problem is, or the benefit is, or the difference is, however you want to view it, depending on where you're coming from, unlike COVID-19, which was man-made and made to be highly contagious among us, the bird flu does not appear to be man-made or have escaped from a lab. And slowly it's going from birds, where it's killed hundreds of millions, or at least hundreds of millions of birds have been sacrificed because of this bird flu infection. Slowly made it into some mammals, dairy cows recently in Texas. The number of people in the U.S. who have contracted bird flu is, I think, less than 5. I think since 2000, a total of 800 people on the planet have had bird flu, mostly in countries like China, where they had different types of sanitation, a lot more intimate contact with animals. So right now, I don't think it's anything to be particularly scared about. What scares me is that the manufacturers of these experimental mRNA vaccines have said they are all ready for the bird flu, and they have lots of stockpiles, and they're happy to inject us with another mRNA vaccine. Now, that's a problem for me, and I think for probably well over 50, 60% of the population, because we learned from their last mRNA experiment on us that the immunity does not last very long, the immunity is not thorough, and the complications of the vaccine are devastating. So in the vast majority of people, it hurt them more than it could possibly help them. Given the fact that almost everybody in the country has been exposed to COVID, if you test their antibodies, you're looking at a death rate from COVID that's maybe less than 1 in 100,000. I mean, children have 3 in a million chance of dying from COVID. So, and all of them have been exposed. So think about those numbers. Whereas you're right, with the bird flu, with sort of second world care, you can expect a 50% mortality rate. And the US are projecting if it ever was a pandemic, it would be about a minimum of a 10% mortality rate. These are huge numbers. But like I said, there's no guarantee that it's going to be passed from human to human. The only ones that have gotten it on the planet so far have gotten it from animals.
Dr. Mark Richards, as always, thanks so much for your insight, your knowledge, and your public service, because it truly is a public service to bring the truth to the American people in this audience. We thank you so much. Dr. Mark Richards. God bless.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you. We turn now to another horrific story coming out of our public school system. A $9 million lawsuit filed by parents of a 9-year-old girl at Scott Elementary School in Portland, Oregon. The lawsuit alleges the 9-year-old girl was gang raped in the bathroom of that school and that she was sexually attacked 2 times before this incident. Shockingly, the principal of that school did not report the incident to the police, but instead launched what was called, quote, an internal investigation. According to the court filings, the staff interviewed the 9-year-old girl without notifying her family or legal representatives. The alleged perpetrators were suspended for 1 day. 1 day. Another disgusting example of what our public schools have become, a disgusting example of what the Marxist Dems ideology and sexualization of our children is doing, and what our schools are becoming. Meanwhile, the Marxist Dems are finally turning on diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, but not for the reasons you might think or might hope for. You see, they don't hate DEI because it destroys merit in the name of equity. No, they oppose DEI because it doesn't go far enough. In the words of a talk show host by the name of Charlemagne, DEI just allowed the racist to emerge. Take a listen to this fool.
These right-wingers are crazy, right? Jesus. But here's the part where you all stop applauding everything I say. The truth about DEI is that although it's well-intentioned, it's mostly garbage, okay? It's kind of like the Black Little Mermaid. Just because racists hate it doesn't mean it's good. And you know I'm right, because every one of you has sat through one of those diversity training sessions and thought, this is some bull. And it's not just you. Over 900 studies have shown that DEI programs don't make the workplace better for minorities. In fact, it can actually make things worse because of the backlash effect. In fact, maybe the only thing that DEI has accomplished is giving racist white people cover to be openly racist.
And that's what you call a comedian. A comedian. Well, the problem with DEI isn't just that it elevates the absurd and the meritless among us. No, the real problem is the conservative Americans are charged with racism when they oppose it. If you have good judgment, good sense, reason, you're in real trouble in this world of fools. And all of you out there, well, you know, we want you to know there are plenty of fools going around. We're going to continue in just one moment. Please stay with us. We're going to be right back.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow. Towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with a nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all My Towels. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back. I'm excited to talk to Bernie Moreno, who is the Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate from the state of Ohio. We're going to be doing that in just a moment. I want to just take time out for just a second to tell you that Mike Lindell and MyPillow, as you probably know, no longer have the support of those big box stores, the major shopping channels, the way they once did. They've become a part of the cancel culture, of course. And Mike Lindell and the folks at MyPillow want to pass on the savings directly to you now. And they're having a $25 extravaganza to introduce you to hundreds of new products. I said hundreds. And when Mike started MyPillow, you probably know it was just a one problem, one solution product company. So since then, with the help of all of his dedicated employees and a lot of hard work and innovation, they have now hundreds of products for you. Some of you may not even know about many of them. And to get the word out, Mike Lindell is having a $25 extravaganza on mypillow.com. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, just $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And their 6-pack towels, $25. Brand new 4-pack dish towels, and you guessed it, $25. And for the first time ever, those premium MyPillows with the all-new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size, just $25. And this amazing offer, well, it doesn't last forever, so order yours now. Just go to mypillow.com or call 800-977-9152. That's 800-977-9152. And use promo code Dobbs. That's DOBBS. Promo code that, well, with music, isn't it? It's music. Promo code Dobbs. Please use it. Turning now to election news. In December, Donald Trump endorsed Bernie Moreno to unseat Ohio Democrat Senator Sherrod Brown. Moreno won his 3-way GOP primary last month, and he did it in fine fashion, I'll tell you that. And we're delighted to have Bernie Moreno with us here tonight on the show. Bernie, I've been looking forward to talking to you, and I want to just begin by saying congratulations and thank you for winning.
Thank you for having me. It was a great victory for Ohio. The reality is, Lou, just like in the general election versus Sherrod Brown, people are sick and tired of career politicians. Sherrod Brown ran for office for the first time when Richard Nixon was president. And now he wants a 4th term in the United States Senate. We're not going to give it to him.
Well, I know you certainly will not. And the reality is Sherrod Brown is one of the leading Marxists in the U.S. Senate. I mean, the state of Ohio, I have never understood what impulse must have gotten over someone in the Democrat Party to even put him forward, let alone elect the man. He's never done anything that I'm aware of. I mean, he's literally done absolutely nothing in all that time in the Senate. Am I mistaken?
He hasn't done anything positive, but he's done a lot negative. We've lost factories. We've lost manufacturing. We've seen the price of oil go up. We've seen the price of groceries go up, all because of his policies. Open borders, that hurts the very people he pretends to help. You know, what makes Sherrod Brown the worst of all of them is that he pretends he's on the side of the working class and against the elites. Mm-hmm. But in reality, Lou, when given the choice, he votes with those very elites 100% of the time. We're going to expose them. And when we do, the voters of Ohio are going to soundly reject them.
You know, Bernie, Sherrod Brown is one of those folks. I'm a populist, independent, conservative, America firster. I'm straightforward about my politics, and I'm straightforward about the policies that I think are working for the country. Nothing about Sherrod Brown, in my opinion, has ever worked for the country. He is working for an ideology. He is working for a power structure made up of Marxist Dems who have declared war over the course of the past few months. They've declared war on Jews. They've declared war on Christians. They have declared war on Americans. How can anyone with that D next to their name run for any office without every American saying, wait a minute, you're the same people who just told Bibi Netanyahu to go for a new election, to stand down and let Hamas run over Israel? You're the same folks who turned over the 2,000-mile southern border to the Mexican drug cartels? You're the guys endorsing 100,000 Americans ODing on fentanyl? What in the world? Why would anybody vote for any of these cretins?
If they knew the truth, they wouldn't. But as you know, Lou, you're the rarity. Most media is extraordinarily biased, left-wing media, and they cover for Sherrod Brown. They've been doing his bidding for a long time. But again, in this particular election, we're going to have the resources, we're going to have the message, and most importantly, we're going to have President Donald J. Trump at the top of the ticket, which is going to drive our voters out. We're going to show up, and we're going to soundly defeat him, because you're exactly right. That's who the real Sherrod Brown is. That's the guy we're going to expose. Open borders radical, Green New Deal radical. When given the choice of helping working class Americans or going with the lunatic elites, he votes with the lunatic elites every single time.
Right. You know, and isn't it great? I mean, you, America First, MAGA, supporting Donald Trump, President Trump, America First, the author of America First, all the policies that worked so well for this country in his first term in office, to see that return. I truly believe this, Bernie. Without you, without President Trump, the country doesn't stand a chance. And I think the American people know that. I know working men and women in this country, our middle class, know that. Your thoughts in conclusion as we wrap up here, Bernie?
The next years of this country are ahead of us, Lou. We're going to get this country back. President Trump's going to be in office. We're going to take the Senate back. We're going to finally fulfill conservative values. We're going to shrink the size of the federal government. We're going to restore freedom and liberty in this country. And the best years of this country are ahead of us. But it's going to require us to vote, to turn out, and to get uncomfortably engaged in politics, make certain that we're not silenced, make certain we use our voice and be heard, because this country needs us right now to save it.
Amen. Bernie Moreno, thank you for being with us, and good luck. And I look forward to calling you Senator-elect soon. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bernie Moreno. Before we go, thank you, Bernie. I appreciate it. Before we go, a team of Chinese researchers claiming blue jeans are bad for the environment. You know, it's really amazing. The Daily Mail talking about doctors and scientists had figured this out. They forgot to mention in their headlines or the top of the story that all the research had been done by Chinese scientists. That study claims wearing one-time Levi's is enough to poison the planet. You might want to think about that before you visit your next rodeo. China, by the way, with the world's biggest polluter, nobody ever accused communists of being consistent about anything, but somehow they found a problem with blue jeans, for crying out loud. Geniuses, those Chinese. Join us each and every day for my podcast, The Great America Show. Be with us tomorrow evening as well. And we thank you for being with us here tonight. Every weekday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central. And Monday, Texas Congressman Troy Nehls, former Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent Victor Avila will be here as we continue our report on the invasion at our border and the, well, satanic Marxist Dems who make it all possible for the Mexican drug cartels. The Lindell Report is coming up next, and as always, it will be riveting. Please join Mike Lindell here next. Thanks for being with us. God bless you, and good night.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm here to tell you about my new product from MyPillow, towels that actually work. Watch this absorbency test. Here's another towel that we randomly went out and bought. Here's one of my towels with the nice design. I don't know if you can see this, but you could line a swimming pool with this. I mean, this is crazy. Get rid of it. Towels that actually work. What a concept. I'm interrupting this commercial to let you know you can get our 6-piece My Towels, regular $69.98, now only $29.98. Or you can save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels, made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Also, we have bath sheets, bath towels, washcloths, hand towels, and so much more. And the best part, with your promo code, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen